What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about elves getting ready for Elrond's legendary event this week. Talking about which are the most important abilities and which are the most important gear upgrade priorities for elves. Even if you're not getting Elrond, you're still going to be using some of these elves in Arena in different teams. We're going to talk about that in another video. We're going to talk about which are the most important abilities to upgrade and why they're so important and how they kind of get that elf team to the next level, and talk about which are the most important gear upgrades based on stats. We're going to break that all down in today's video. So if you guys do enjoy this video, you find it helpful or informative, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Let's dive right into it. So let's start by talking about abilities, and let's focus on if you don't have Elrond. A lot of you are probably not going to have Elrond, and so you're wondering, well, what do I do with my elves if I'm not using Elrond? Well, your three elves that you're probably going to be using are going to be Eladan, Elrond, and Arwen. Lomian's still an odd one out, at least for Arena right now. Probably once we get into PvE content, I can see Lomian being more useful. But Eladan is going to be important because he's your tank for the team, and he actually deals quite a bit of damage, and that's why his second special, Ancient Skill, should be one of your top priorities in terms of taking up to level 6, because this is where he gets 1 stamina for this ability per boon on himself. This allows him to constantly use this ability, and he hits hard, especially as you start getting other buffs on him through other members. You can bring in characters that give him might to also allow Ancient Skill to do even more. It's pretty good. This one is a very important, I'd say probably the most important level 6 ability upgrade. And do keep in mind, these things are expensive to upgrade, so we want to be very sparing in terms of what we're upgrading. So most important T6 upgrade here. What do we call this? Level 6 upgrade? T6? I don't know what we call it. This is the most important one for the elf team in my opinion. Another one I do want to consider that not taking at least up to level 6, but want to go to at least level 4, is going to be his Pride of Imladris, because this is where he will get deadly on himself for 1 turn. This is another boon that he can get on himself that will allow him to then synergize nicely with Ancient Skill so that he gets more buffs on him. He's probably not going to have the provokes. He's going to lose them by the time he gets to use them. Regeneration will be there at least for 2 turns, so you do have that buff. He gets the deadly on him. There's at least 2 buffs there already. So now you're already taking 2 turns off the cooldown, and then you add in other cooldowns. If you want to give might on him from someone like Eowyn or the Troll Brute, or, you know, use Arwen's cleanse ability that gives him regeneration and immunity. He can probably get defensive from her as well. Arwen is going to feed nicely into Ancient Skill here and just kind of keep feeding those buffs to Eladan so that he can use this ability more and more often. Now, moving on from that, let's talk about Elrond here. I'd say this is the second most important character to be using on your elf team if you're not using Elrond. And the one thing you do want to look at upgrading is going to be his Arrow of Rivendell passive ability. This on the T6 always retaliate. Without this, it's only a 50% chance to retaliate. Not exactly anything to write home about. And using it in Arena at 50%, it's just not reliable. There was one battle I was doing testing with, and he only retaliated twice, and his tanks were just getting hit over and over again. It's just pure RNG luck, and if it goes badly, then he's never going to really retaliate. But you also have this where, with Eladan is on the team, you have increased retaliation damage by 15%. So this is a very important level 6 upgrade, because you want to make sure he's constantly retaliating, and the amount of damage he can put out with this is going to be huge, especially when you look at his basic. The more you upgrade this basic, the more damage you're going to get with it. You don't have to take this up to level 6. I would at least recommend level 3, so you get at least a little bit more damage per boon on himself, another 5% per boon. But you keep upgrading this, and that retaliation is just going to hit more and more. And if you do get deadly on him through upgrading the Pride of Imladris ability on Eladan, and you get deadly on him, well, now you get bonus crit chance, which synergizes nicely with the bonus crit damage. His Elven Vengeance is not bad. This is one that I would say is at least a solid high priority, but not the most important. We're trying to keep our investment slim because these ability materials do take a lot, and there's a lot of gold involved in leveling up these abilities as well. So we're trying to keep it slim, but once you have some of your more important T6 upgrades or tier 6 upgrades, then yeah, this one here, this Elven Vengeance team up is going to be pretty nice, because that's going to absolutely demolish someone on the enemy team. Moving on from there, we're going to talk about Arwen. And Arwen is not bad. She's kind of like my third gear priority upgrade behind Eladan and Elrond here. And really, if you want to look at what would be the most important abilities to upgrade on her, Deadly Earnest here is going to be pretty important. Number one, you already get the boon dispelled, which you don't get any more of that at tier 5 or tier 6. But at tier 6, you get the plus 10% turn meter per boon on herself. And if you've already been playing Elves, you know there's a lot of turn meter flying around on this team. If you get Deadly from Eladan, that's even better. But a lot of buffs going around. Usually, what I like to use is Evening Star. Once you get to tier 5, you can use it right away. This is actually kind of important because you can cleanse all Banes, you get squat, you get regeneration, you get immunity. You kind of start feeding buffs onto her. And then you can use some other characters on your team to feed in Deadly Earnest. Like if you're using Troll Brute, you can try to hold off on Deadly Earnest, get Might. Lady Aelwyn can get Might on Deadly Earnest. There are different characters out there that can get boons onto Arwen. It's difficult right now without Elrond to really get a full set of boons on her. There are ways of doing it. It does mean delaying Deadly Earnest at least a little bit. But this bonus turn meter per boon on herself is really, really nice. And once we get the full elf team, once we really start getting cooking with this, I could see this being a lot better where she can almost move back to back. Where she uses Deadly Earnest on her first turn, and then she can use Evening Star, or she can use Guarded Slash to get some defensive on wounded squad members. But yeah, Deadly Earnest I'd say is the most important T6 upgrade on Arwen right now, just because of that bonus turn meter, and then you can kind of fill out from there. Let's talk a little bit about Elrond before we start talking about gear upgrades and which ones are the most important. Elrond, in terms of which one's going to be the most important, it's got to be, the heal here, Vilya's Light, bonus stamina if there's no elf allies to revive, and really that's kind of like the most important one. His other abilities are nice. If you look at his leadership ability, another additional boon has its duration extended. Those are all not bad, but Vilya's Light, this one, if there's no elves to revive, he gets 2 stamina at tier 6, which is really important. His speed is not bad, it's not the worst, but you do want to make sure you get to use this heal as often as possible. And because he's really your main source of healing with the team, you do get some regenerations through Arwen. The Vilya's Light is where you really need to upgrade things with Elrond. And that's why I see this this special here, getting that extra stamina. It goes from 1 stamina to 2 stamina, becomes a 3-turn cooldown into a 2-turn cooldown with this. And this heal is really, really good. But also, it allows it where if you use the heal and then an elf dies after using that heal, well, now you're on a shorter cooldown, you can get to it more quickly and get that elf member revived back more quickly. I would say this is going to be the most important T6 upgrade for Lord Elrond. Another one to consider is going to be the T6 on his leadership ability, because now you're going to get an additional boon that has its duration extended. And then also the counterattack here. This is pretty good because, probably your most wounded squad member for most of the fight is going to be Eladan. And with this, you get counters on him, and Eladan will apply Weaken, which reduces the damage on the opponent when he counters. So this is going to be a pretty solid one. And Wrath of Rivendell, I'm not really worried about too much. T5 looks pretty good because that turns this into an ability to use on a second turn. And you do get slow for an additional turn, which is nice, but you're not getting the full benefit from this. Like if, for instance, if they had the reduced turn meter by 5% per boon on self at tier 6, I would really consider this a very important tier 6 ability upgrade. But right now with just 1 additional slow duration, that's not the worst, it's not the best, it's somewhere in between. So that's kind of where I'm at, where I think you guys need to be focusing on your ability upgrades. We're trying to keep it slim and talk about the most important ones because, ability upgrades are very important. In terms of gear, honestly, Eladan should be your top priority. Eladan's going to be your tank. He's going to be taking a lot of your damage. The more you have him geared up, you can see I've got him here at tier 8, level 47. Decent health, his decent damage as well. His resistance is pretty high. Most of your elves have high resistance already. That's going to tie into Elrond's leadership ability, where it's going to be very difficult to put debuffs on this team. And that's why I think eventually we're going to see a team that puts out a lot of debuffs and has heavy focus is going to be the counter to this team. Maybe Nazgul, maybe Haradrim. We'll see how things pan out. But yeah, Eladan's just your most important character. He's going to be taunting a lot, and you want to make sure he stays alive, because the more he stays alive, the more he's taunting, the more retaliations you're getting from Elrond here, the more you're keeping him, more you're keeping the damage off some of your other characters. For instance, Elrond here and Elrond both have very low health, so you want to keep those two alive, which means you want to keep your focus on Eladan. So for instance, if we go and look at the health here, for instance, like Elrond here, very low on health here at the bottom, right there. And then Elrond is not far behind here. He's down here about 21,000. This is fully maxed out as well. So Elrond here and Elrond are both incredibly fragile characters. So you want to make sure that you keep them alive. Eladan up here closer to the top end at 25,000. So Eladan, in my opinion, especially if you don't have Elrond, should be your top gear priority. After that, it's going to depend on if you have Elrond or not. If you have Elrond, he should be your next gear priority. You want him to be leveled up and geared up so you have that higher health. The heals are reliant completely on Elrond's max health. So the more you have him geared up, the better his healing is going to be. And then after that, Elrond here. Elrond here is going to be pretty fragile in terms of health, but his damage is incredibly important. And that's special too with the team of attack with Eladan. Especially when you get it to upgrading and ignoring armor on the enemy target, it's going to deal a lot of damage. So you want to make sure that you are getting a lot of damage in with Elrond here. This guy could potentially nuke an enemy character on turn when he's using Elven Vengeance. He's using Deadly Grace already. If you upgrade this, you get 2 turns of expose, you gain might on him, and then you follow up with the Elven Vengeance. I mean, rip somebody. Someone's gonna die from this ability. So Elrond here, you're upgrading him for his damage and also keep him a little more healthy. And then finally Arwen. You notice I'm not talking about Lomian, I'm not talking about Layla or Naramiri, because really I don't think they have a place right now in this team. I think the Elrond and his 3 kids are going to be pretty much the basis for any elf team and any kind of arena team with these characters. We'll see how things pan out, but yeah, the other elves I just don't think have a place right now in arena. But then Arwen, yeah, there's not a lot here that's based on stats. Her regeneration is based off the max health of the character who gets regeneration. She's not healing anybody. You know, you get some better damage with her, but she's not gonna be a damage dealer like Elrond here. She's not gonna be tanking hits like Eladan. She's not healing like Elrond. This is part of my review of her. She's a jack of all trades and master of none, in that she's a great all-around character, but she's not heavily focusing on one kind of statistic. So I would keep Arwen as your last gear priority. I would really focus on the other 3 elves before you worry about Arwen. That's going to kind of wrap it up for me here. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys have questions? Do you have other abilities you want to focus on first for the Rivendell Elves? Let me know down below. Any questions, concerns, comments, thoughts, ideas, make sure to drop them down below in the comments section as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you have enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys next time.